From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicholas Poitras, and this is your 12 o'clock news. MLAs are back in Victoria on Tuesday for the start of the fall sitting of the BC Legislature, with 4 official parties now participating. Housing will be a key focus this session, with Government House Leader and Housing Minister Ravi Kahlon promising new legislation to address permitting and zoning challenges, to strengthen enforcement of short-term rentals, and to deliver more small-scale multi-unit housing. The VPD provided an update to their controversial school liaison officer program. Our reporter Sonia Kutenbrauer has more on how the program's first 4 weeks have panned out.
VPD Deputy Chief Fiona Wilson presented City Council with the first of several updates expected on the reintroduced SLO program. The Police and Schools program is currently in its 4th week of operation, with 15 constables stationed in the city's secondary schools. Deputy Wilson said the officers have been well welcomed, receiving positive reactions from school staff and parents. Reactions from students were briefly mentioned, though not detailed. Ongoing concerns from the VPD's African Descent Advisory Committee regarding the effectiveness of the program remains. School liaison officers were previously removed from Vancouver schools following student survey in April of 2021. Sonia Kutenbrauer, 1680 The Crow.
With more on this story, we are now joined by Sonia. So, Sonia, what is new about the reintroduced SLO program?
Well, Nick, officers are aimed to be a lot more casual looking. They're going to be sporting casual clothing with a concealed firearm, and will drive unmarked police vehicles. Deputy Wilson says that this has had a great effect on students, not having police officers that are outfitted in the full military style outfit.
Awesome. And what concerns did City Council raise in this meeting?
Well, Councillor Christine Boyle specifically raised some concerns regarding the officers' involvement in extracurricular activities. Police officers, or SLO officers, I will say, often would participate with kids in lunchtime sports, or one specifically brought up was a running club at a secondary school. She brought up the issue that the officers' involvement in these activities may have an impact on who participates. Oftentimes, Black and Indigenous students feel unsafe participating, and have said they've felt unsafe participating in these kinds of activities with officers present.
And will these officers have some sort of third-party accountability?
So, Deputy Wilson announced that they will be held accountable by a steering committee. Now, the makeup of this steering committee isn't exactly clear, though I believe it's members of the school community, including teachers and school officials. The records and notes from these meetings that the steering committee will conduct will not be public, which is an issue that Christine Boyle did raise, the public information output on this program. But Deputy Wilson did state that an issue regarding school confidentiality, the confidentiality of students due to the nature of what they are talking about, would prevent them from releasing those records.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sonia, for your time. Masking is now mandatory for many people in healthcare settings across BC. Provincial Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry announced last week the return of mask mandates for healthcare workers, visitors, and volunteers in patient care areas of places like hospitals and other public facilities. Masks are not mandatory in private practices, along with dentists and chiropractor offices. The requirement comes as BC continues to see a rise in cases of respiratory illness and COVID-19, she said. Liberal MP Greg Fergus has been elected House of Commons Speaker in a historic mid-season vote. The election was triggered by a resignation of Anthony Rota, who stepped down last week after he honored a man who fought for the Nazis in the Second World War. Here's audio of the reading of the election result.
It's now my duty to inform the House that the Honorable, il est maintenant de mon devoir d'informer la Chambre qu'un honorable député de Hull-Elmer, Greg Fergus.
An official says India has told Canada to remove 41 of its 62 diplomats in the country, ramping up confrontation over Canadian accusations that India may have been involved in the killing of 6 separatist leaders in suburban Vancouver. The official spoke on condition of anonymity ahead of public reaction from the Canadian government later Tuesday. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has said there was credible allegations of Indian involvement in the slaying of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a 45-year-old Sikh leader who was killed by a masked gunman in June. A new era of understanding opportunities to advance Canadian agriculture is dawning as Farm Management Canada, in partnership with Centris Engine, released new research that shed lights on the crucial roles played by farm women in influencing farm success in Canada. Lead researcher and president of Centris Engine, Maurice Allen, says that much has been said about the experience of women in farming, but little has been measured. Results reveal women are making extraordinary contributions to farming in Canada, with a high degree of involvement in virtually every aspect of the operation. However, the research shows farm women continue to face significant challenges and barriers that need to be addressed. Farm Management Canada will be hosting a panel discussion at its 2023 Agricultural Excellence Conference to discuss its findings and to revamp policies. Thailand. Authorities in Thailand say a shooting at a shopping mall in Bangkok has killed at least 2 people. ABC reporter Tom Rivers has more.
Gautam Bora was shopping with his wife and child when suddenly shots started ringing out.
Everybody was screaming and running. There was a lot of chaos in there. It was almost like a stampede.
Eventually, police took control at one of Bangkok's biggest and most upscale shopping complexes.
They kept clearing people out of there for the next 45 minutes out of there because we were just waiting over there. We were waiting for our car.
A suspect has been arrested and is in custody. Tom Rivers, ABC News at the Foreign Desk.
Parts of Maui are set to reopen to tourists this weekend, almost 2 months after a deadly wildfire killed at least 97 people. ABC reporter Alex Stone has more.
Well, many on Maui say it is time to get the economy back up and running to reopen areas of West Maui like the giant resorts in Kaanapali next door to Lahaina. Some residents say no, that it's still too soon. Blake Ramelb is a community leader in Lahaina.
We lost our entire town. How can you expect them to go back to work, serving Mai Tais?
Evacuees who have been living at the resorts have to be put into other longer-term housing, and some don't want to make that move. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Donald Trump had more to say today about New York's Attorney General while appearing for the second day of his civil business fraud trial. Despite being weeks away from testifying, ABC's Aaron Katistri says it's clear Trump believes he did nothing wrong.
Trump said even if his statements of financial condition were fraudulent, as the judge has already established they were, all the banks got paid, no insurance company got harmed, never missed a payment to an insurance company. And he says all of his statements of financial condition came with disclaimers. So a sophisticated lender, a sophisticated bank like Deutsche Bank that gave him money could do its own due diligence. That's not how the New York Attorney General sees the case.
Attorney General Letitia James' suit alleges that Trump and his business chronically lied about his wealth on statements given to banks, insurers, and others. 3 scientists won the Nobel Prize in Physics for their work on how electrons zip around the atom during the tiniest fractions of seconds. The award, announced Tuesday, went to Pierre Agnostini, Ferenc Krause, and Anne Hourier for their study of the tiny part of each atom that races around the center and is fundamental to virtually everything. Electrons move around so fast that they have been out of reach of human efforts to isolate them. But experts says that by looking at the tiniest fraction of a second possible, scientists now have a blurry glimpse of them, and that opens up whole new sciences. The field could one day lead to better electronics or disease diagnosis. And now, on to sports. The Toronto Blue Jays kick off their American League wildcard playoff series with the Minnesota Twins this afternoon at Target Field in Minneapolis. Canadian Press reporter John Kennedy has more on the story.
The Twins will host the best-of-3 series after winning the AL Central Division. The Blue Jays advanced to the playoffs by claiming the league's third and final wildcard spot. Toronto is making its second straight playoff appearance. The Jays hosted Seattle last fall after taking the first wildcard spot, but lost in 2 games to the Mariners. Jays right-hander Kevin Gausman gets the start for Game 1 against the Twins.
It's been a dream of mine since I got to the big leagues to get the ball for a postseason start. Obviously, Game 1 is the most important one.
The Blue Jays haven't advanced past the wild card round of the playoffs since 2016. John Kennedy, the Canadian Press.
A new coach, a new system, and a new culture. Toronto Raptors head coach Darko Rajakovic says things will be different this year after a 22-23 season in which President Masai Ujiri said the team was selfish.
How you're going to describe selfishness? It's taking poor shots, it's over-dribbling the ball, it's, we're going to try completely opposite of that. We're going to try to move the ball more. We're going to try to implement 0.5 offense, so every time a player catches the ball, that they were making quicker decisions.
Rajakovic was hired in June to replace Nick Nurse, who was fired in April. The PGHL, Port Coquitlam's expansion team, has made franchise history this weekend with the team's very first win. Our reporter Madison Buckingham has more details about this local hockey milestone.
Port Coquitlam Trailblazers have ended their 0-6 drought after beating the Aldergrove Kodiaks 3-1 at their home arena on Friday night. Newest acquisition Caden Stanley opened up the scoring for the game, registering his first point as a Trailblazer. Port Coquitlam natives Marcus Jack and Robbie Tour take credit for the final 2 goals that punched in the team's win. Goaltender Evan Paul also contributed to the team's success, managing to save Aldergrove's 28 out of 29 shots on goal. Madison Buckingham, 1680 The Crow.
And that was your news for 12:30. I'm Nicholas Boitras from 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the